Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Oh, I didn't ask if you were ready. Are you ready?
No, but I just thought of something and you'll love it.
Okay. Are we doing a different episode?
No, same
okay.
episode, but we have a story that we can put in it that you may have not forgot about.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
yeah.
Look, rewind. I'm Mallory Donahue.
I'm Zede Donahue.
Okay. And today we're going to talk about sewing on stuff other than fabric.
Yeah, what you consider traditional fabric sewing stuff. Right.
Sure. Of course, you know. So I originally was like paper.
Right.
You know, and then you were like, other things other than fabric. So paper's on my mind,
Okay,
but you
so
got something to start off with.
When we had our shop, our brick and mortar shop, and we went to Baby Lock Tech, and Linda Turner came back from class and talked about.
Oh my God, this is hilarious.
Talked about. What did she call it? The new plastic fabric?
She said, and Linda is from Oklahoma.
What did she? Yeah.
She
has like an accent other than ours.
She lived in Columbia, Missouri for a while, and now they're back in Oklahoma.
Yeah, they are.
So I can only imagine what she sounds like now. And Linda would not mind me doing a little impression of her. Okay.
We always made fun of her.
Who was the presenter? Because she was in like this Martha Pullen.
It was
class.
a Martha Pullen class.
But
so I don't think
Missy?
it was. I don't know if it was Martha. She said it was somebody with a southern accent.
Because Missy doesn't have a southern accent.
Right. It might not have been anybody we really knew. It might have been somebody from Martha Pullen.
So Linda comes back.
Because Martha Pullen does also have a southern, what we consider a southern accent.
So Linda comes back from Baby Lock Tech class. Like we're all convening in the hotel room. She goes, "You have got to feel this fabric." She says it's their new plastic fabric. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like plastic, you know? So we're all like,
and I'm like, this is a batiste. What are you talking
yeah, we're
about?
Like, what are they talking? So plastic fabric, blah, blah. And Jane actually, where's she from? She's from Maine? Connecticut?
Yes, Massachusetts, I believe.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. She is from the Northeast. She actually, even though she has lived in Columbia for a long time, she has a little bit of a clipped Northern accent, right?
Right, you can hear it every once in a while.
Yeah, and she'd be like, well,
especially with words that in a vowel.
Yeah, she'd be like, well, I'm going to that class tomorrow, so I am going to ask about this fabric. You know, so very pronounced concept, which is funny, right?
And Linda's just carrying on about this.
And Linda and Jane
fabric.
were like a couple at our store.
Yeah, they like hung around together
and
a lot.
They taught
We're friends sort of
together,
outside, yeah.
Right, and so Linda's got this southern accent, and Jane has this northern, a little bit of an accent. And anyway, really cute. Love. I'm getting all nostalgic here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, plastic fabric. It's their plastic percal. Plastic percal. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
So Jane comes back from the class the next day. She takes,
okay, and we all wind up on the floor,
she's
honest
like,
to God.
Linda, it's classic percal.
And she's like, well, the woman had an accent.
And I'm like, she had an accent.
I'm like, you have an accent.
No, it was so funny.
So then we had another Linda that worked for us, and we would do like sometimes these gift exchanges or something.
Yeah.
I can't, draw names and, whatever. And she made her a plastic pillowcase out of like a trash bag. And put lace on it and ribbon and the whole Martha Pullen look.
She like ruffled it and did some entredot and it did all of that. Like no, she did everything. So you can do that. Okay.
So you can sew.
You can sew on plastic. All right.
Classic plastic.
Martha Pullen selling plastic.
I have sewn on plastic.
Oh yeah.
For like utilitarian things, I have done things like made a Ziploc bag smaller and sewn it so it would be shorter because I can't think of why right now, but I have done that.
Let me say what I've sewn on recently, but then we'll get into like the physics of it and some recommendations. Okay. So I was going to an audition and I needed to secure my pages together, but they weren't printed double-sided.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so a lot of people just like, you hole punch it on the opposite side so that it's double-sided, and then they tape it together. And I was like, well, I'm just going to sew this because I don't like tape.
Yeah.
I don't like tape very much, and especially when I can sew it. So I sewed the edges of my pages together, and my voice teacher thought that was like really, really funny. So,
But yeah, I've sewn many a book like that.
Yeah.
Or a greeting cards were big for us.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually sewn zippers onto greeting cards.
So
where
let's talk about paper.
Right.
Okay.
Paper's fun, cardstock. And honestly, cardstock is probably more fun, or a heavier paper. If you get into the lighter papers, they just don't sew as well.
Yeah, so a cardstock.
They don't stand up to it as well.
Something like that. What kind of needle? What needle considerations? What do you have to think about?
Well,
when you're sewing
you
on
probably
paper?
want a rather big eye in your needle, because there is a drag on the thread
Okay,
as it goes through the paper.
sure.
Although, in practice, I have sometimes like needles I haven't quite yet thrown away.
Yeah.
And I might try one of those that's stuck over in this little pincushion area where I'm like, ooh, use this a couple times. It's not the best, but if I need to do a quick thing or whatever. So, I like a 90 is good for me. And you don't want a huge hole.
No, so you don't want too big of a hole, but then you also want to
What
protect
we're talking about is when it pierces
Yeah.
the
the
the paper. You don't want to leave a huge hole.
But you might also be using, probably, what you're using is like a special thread. You're using
A lot of times you're using a
a
decorative
thicker,
thread.
And
I've used embroidery needles
Mhm,
to actually sew with, especially if I'm using I have done, decorative stitches onto
Right.
paper.
yeah, so
And
okay.
that's really pretty.
Decorative stitches on paper are lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to use a needle. You're going to test a little bit.
Right.
Make sure you're not punching too big of a hole.
Right.
Because if you over perforate.
Well, and
Oh, wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I
talked
know what
about
you're going to
that
say.
too. Yeah, so we'll go
I
ahead.
know what you're going to say.
No, you don't. No, you
Yes,
don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
If you over perforate, you don't want your card to fall apart in someone's
Right,
hands.
right.
Okay. If
you're
gonna
trying to keep it together here.
You're going to stitch on a greeting card. If you're going to, do some rows of decorative stitching.
And, I have sewn fabric onto paper.
Sure.
I have sewn plastic onto paper.
I'd recommend choosing a decorative stitch that is a bit more open.
Yes.
Okay, so if you think about the decorative stitches that could be on your machine, those ones, oftentimes they are cataloged by like the satin ones are grouped together, the ones that have the satin stitching in them.
And again, test.
Test. What were you going to say about over perforating your paper, Mom?
Well, you may want your paper to actually perforate. Like, you may want to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, are you making like tickets or something that
Or
pulls
decorative
the
edge?
stub off or
Decorative
the edge
edge?
off?
Yeah.
So then you make your stitches very close together, and you don't use a thread.
Okay, so I did know that you were going to say that.
And here's about not using a thread nowadays
Yeah.
too. You have to make sure you have that off on your machine.
Yeah, turn your thread sensor off.
So if you have a thread sensor, an electronic machine with a thread sensor, you have to turn that off, or it won't sew for you. It'll sew one stitch and stop. But if a
So if
mechanical
you-
machine without a sensor will sew just fine.
Right. So if you want to, you can sew without thread, and you can just make an imprint on the paper. So it can be a shape, or it can be a decorative edge, or something like that. You can do that.
So you could scallop your edge by using holes that are
scallop
close
stitch.
enough together, or big enough that it will tear off, and you can have your little scalloped edge.
Yeah, there's just I don't know if there's like a book or something, but you used to teach a class.
I used to
Sewed
teach a
ribbon
class
on. Yeah.
just to make greeting cards. You can also use that scallop and sew that scallop and leave with thread in it and still pull away sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, you can test this. Also, it has to do with the paper. If the paper's too sturdy, it won't pull away.
And people are like, "Oh, I would never sew on paper," or something like
It
that.
dulls my needle.
Just so y'all know, making paper is similar to how some fabrics are made.
Well, and
Paper is a
and some
fiber.
of the things you buy at the store to use with your sewing machine, like non-woven interfacing,
Yeah.
it's paper.
It's basically paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
Don't whisper.
So, right. Well, the other thing is everything dulls your needle.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
nice, smooth, evenly woven cotton fabric won't dull your needle like a fabric that has
That sequins on it?
sequins in it or a metal fiber in it, or sometimes if you have mixed fibers, that seems to dull your needle more. You're going to change your needle. And, if it gets just kind of dull, you save that for paper. But
I don't know if I've ever, have you ever been like, I'm going to put a new needle in, and now I'm sewing, and now my needle is duller faster than before. Like, I always just end up changing the needle.
I just change my needle. Yeah,
I change it more often, I guess.
Right. I don't know. Yes.
Now, when we used to have the store, I'd sit down to some machine, start sewing, and be like,
Yeah,
okay,
it'd
someone
be
has screwed
horrible.
this up or
Yeah,
something.
what's somebody done on
right.
this? Yes.
I don't know what they
No,
did.
that used to happen.
That's a different story, but yeah, that used to happen all the time. So anyway, sewing on paper, though, it's not like bad for your machine. There are some cool products.
There are things like sewing on tissue paper. I warn you, anything
Yeah.
that's fibrous that falls apart easily, and people will say, "Oh, use tissue paper behind something." I'd much rather you use like a notebook paper or a piece
Like a
of computer
printer
paper,
yeah.
something like that, because what happens is that tissue paper will fall apart and those fibers will go down into your bobbin mechanism. It's not good. So that used to be a rule. We in this store, in this shop, we don't sew on tissue paper. Whatever you want at
so
home.
I guess if someone, is using like a rougher handmade paper that is kind of falling apart, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe that would be like those.
Well, and stop and clean out your
Yeah.
bobbin area. Make sure it doesn't get too crappy.
Yeah.
Good
call.
Take care of it.
Okay. You can also embroider. Like there are embroidery designs out there for embroidering on paper, like with a machine, like a computerized embroidery machine. Okay, there are embroidery designs. If we want to move on to another substrate, another material.
Oh yes, substrate. Yeah, there you go.
Metal.
Right, people.
And like thin
metal,
balsa wood.
balsa wood, cork.
Okay, I would not put cork in those categories. I'm much more down with cork.
The real thin cork.
I'm much more down with cork than I am with metal
you say
and balsa
it makes
wood.
more sense to sew on cork.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, but there are designs specifically for metals, for little pieces of sheet metal, and like you said, the balsa wood.
Okay, I would not do it. I just don't want to do it.
I've seen some that are quite interesting.
they're
I have
great.
no desire to do it.
No, I guess I have this like bias or something, but I would not. I'm just looking at our machine right here.
Yeah,
I'm hand
put a
on
piece
it.
of wood in it.
No.
Yeah, because what if it misses?
Or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
Obviously, it's not a super popular thing to do either.
It was trending there for a while, pretty popular, and that has gone away. But when you said, I just saw something, I just saw a piece of felt out of the corner of my eye. So felt is made similar to the way paper's made.
That's why I said
the fibers
that,
are crisscrossed and meshed together till they get wiry and hang up onto each other.
Well, and I say I don't want to sew through wood and metal, and then I do sew like on dot sequin and stuff like that.
That's plastic,
right? Oh, there you go.
But we sew a metal.
There are some cool products out there, like Craft Tex.
Yes, there are papers that
paper.
have papers that have a lot of fibers that are used in fabric. And these are sort of married together, and you get like this. Yeah, you get sort of this cross between paper and fabric that you'll sew with, and you can make a seam in it and everything, and it will hold. And
and
now
actually,
if I'm sewing paper together, like paper, I do like a flat felt seam,
right?
A lap seam. I'm not going to make a seam and press it open,
right? I have used I've sewn a lot of like paper for costuming kind of things.
I just thought of something.
Okay, don't whisper about it.
I just thought of something. What about the foam?
Oh, yeah.
And people used to put the foam under their embroidery stuff to make it puff up.
Oh, that kind
Remember
of foam.
that?
Yeah. People still do that.
Yeah.
It's really popular on hats.
Yeah. To make the letters puff
very
up.
3D.
Get it very three-dimensional.
Okay, let's take
What do they call that foam?
Puffy foam.
Oh, okay.
I know, real creative, right? Yeah. Let's take a break real quick and come back and talk about some other materials and maybe practical applications and other examples of what we've done, because I think we were kind of on paper there for a little bit, which is fun, but
Okay.
Okay. Hey, everybody. It's Mallory here in your message break, and I just want to make an announcement or a disclaimer or whatever we're supposed to call it, that we are going to start using affiliate links as a way to get support for the podcast and for our website and everything like that. Mom, do you know what an affiliate link is?
Okay, she's affiliating me with something, and I have no idea what this is about.
Yeah, I totally used,
Thanks.
our tax ID number to,
Yeah.
So what an affiliate link is.
I'm going to wind up in jail and not know what I'm being charged with. Is that right?
Probably.
Okay.
No, because we're disclaiming it right now.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Affiliate links.
I'll just need a lawyer. I
Yes.
won't go to jail.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we'll make money from the affiliate links to pay for the lawyer. So
Zede's going to need to keep her butt out of jail.
no, we're doing it all right. Okay, so here's the deal. Affiliate links are links that we post that maybe to Amazon or to other products on other platforms. And when you click through and you buy things on Amazon or you subscribe to something, that we're an affiliate for, we get a kickback. Okay.
Oh, we make money?
Yeah, we make a little bit of money. And what's really cool about the Amazon thing is, we make the kickback on everything you buy.
So if they buy a refrigerator, I can make money on it?
That is correct.
Hey, everybody, buy a refrigerator.
No, we're not. Okay, so that's something we're not supposed to do, right?
Oh, we're not supposed to. So now I am going to wind up in jail.
So the terms of service, though, I just want to let you all know, is that we have to disclaim, hey, we're an affiliate for this or this. When we share this tracing paper from Amazon that has free shipping, this is an affiliate link. You need to know that I am not just innocently recommending this, and we will get a kickback on that. So you're going to see some of those in the group. It's never going to be crap that we don't
I was going to say, even though we could endorse crap,
we won't.
We're not going. We're actually going to maintain our ethics.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to find you things at places that ship fast. We're going to recommend products that we really enjoy using. If you've ever ordered something from us, you may have noticed that Mallory's not the most organized shipper and packer. So we are going to play to our strengths and really focus on creating the podcasts, the videos, the online classes, and allow other businesses that are really good at shipping things to ship things to you. So just be aware that we will be using those affiliate links. There are lots of ways to let you know. I can just say this is an affiliate link, or sometimes people use hashtags, and I've been getting really creative and it's been a lot of fun already in the group. So just heads up, we're going to be doing that. And if you click on an affiliate link, know that if you purchase something, you'll be supporting SewHere.com, and we so appreciate it.
Good idea, Mal.
Sewing out loud. And we're back. Okay. So, maybe we're going to talk about paper a little bit, but sewing Ziploc baggies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to make yourself a swatch book or something, right?
Right. Or the plastic, the plastic.
Mom raises up her hand just now.
There's a big wire.
There's a big thread on it.
So
it's still on your hand.
We're talking about the sleeves that, have the go into 3-ring binders that are sleeve page protectors, right? They're those I've sewn on multiple times.
Right. And so you can
section them or
section
make them,
yes.
Cut them down to make them a different shape or size.
So once again, don't want to perforate. So you're going to lengthen that stitch to do such sectioning and things like that. And then you are going to not make too big of a hole, you know, for perforation. Now you want to talk, did we do a whole episode about sewing on vinyl?
I was going to say, I don't know.
I think
did we do anything about, vinylizing the fabric? That I don't know.
We've done. Okay, so we've done episodes.
So we do sew on that, but there's fabric under there.
Yeah, but in vinyl. So if you're having trouble, even with paper, with vinyl or cork or paper,
so everyone, you do not want a leather needle to sew on vinyl.
Right.
I will repeat: a leather needle is for leather and only leather, because a leather needle slices.
Right.
It's almost like a little knife. If you slice your vinyl, it will continue to
to spread.
split.
And, yeah.
Yes.
Also,
So
I wanna,
you want usually like a denim needle or
Right.
microtex nowadays.
I want to bring up Teflon feet.
Teflon feet.
When you're gonna sew on plastic or
Do not
weird
put
stuff.
baby powder or talcum powder or cornstarch on your machine so that your vinyl slides through easier.
Right.
I repeat, do not. Now, you do not have to take my advice, and you can get, a very large repair bill.
There you go.
I just want you to think about oil and talcum powder together. And what does that make? It makes
cement.
paste,
Yeah,
cement,
paste.
glue, bonding agent, whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
to call it. It's not a good idea. And that was actually recommended on a sewing TV show that
Yeah,
I
I think
watched one time.
we've mentioned that
Yeah, well,
before.
maybe
Say it again.
Not everybody's heard that,
But
but-
Teflon feet, let's
right.
talk about Teflon feet. They are really useful even when you are sewing on fabric
Right.
that has like the dot sequin and stuff.
Anything that
certain
might
people-
have a texture to it
Yes.
that would hang you up. Sometimes some of those textures are like rubbery.
Okay, yeah. I don't think people always think of something like leather. Like it doesn't seem sticky to you at first.
but it has a grip.
Right?
yes.
But yeah, then the leather can grip to your sewing machine, which is why someone very sadly thought about that talcum powder solution.
Wonder how much you need.
Yeah. But the Teflon on top, that'll help you with things like paper if you're going to make a
Right.
plastic percale.
If I sew on
pillowcase.
sequins, like strings of sequins that are already
Right.
strung, I like the Teflon foot.
Wire. Okay.
Wire.
There are things that you might want to sew with that you don't want to sew through.
Right.
Okay.
So you're going to couch it, like sew over it.
right.
And secure it, so couching usually uses zigzag, so you're going on each side of this wire or whatever,
Right.
or
So
cording or whatever you're going to
so
use.
keep that in mind as you go forward.
And that's another way to sew on sequins that are already strung, also,
right.
or beads.
Couch over them. Yes. And so sewing on things like that. Anything that's not fabric or something.
And again, your needle, you have to consider the fabric you're using, or is there a drag, what, and you may have to experiment.
Foams. Okay, so you were talking about puffy foam, but let's talk about things like interfacings and stuff. Maybe
Like
a little
anti-soft and stable,
Yeah,
that
except
type?
anti-soft and stable is not exciting to talk about sewing on it because it just sews up so well.
It's so easy. Yeah, it is.
Things that aren't fabric.
It's like magical.
Yes. Things that aren't fabric tend not to fray. Okay.
Right.
So if you are going to sew
Because
up.
they're not woven.
Right, because they're not woven. So if you're sewing on vinyl, if you're sewing on paper, you mentioned a flat felled seam. So I want to talk about that. When you're joining together these odd
Right.
things.
They may not, you may not be able to open the seam easily.
Right.
It just makes an awkward seam.
Maybe flat felled isn't quite the right word, and lapped isn't technically the right word
Right.
because you're going to have a raw edge of your material
Right.
out there. So you can just lap that over
Right.
and stitch those two things on top of one another.
So you can stitch right on top of it because it's not going to fray. Or, if you want to do it more like an applique, you can do that too. And, just polish over the edge of that fabric with your,
Right.
one side of the needle.
So
down.
sometimes it can be fun too to leave space or just to
Right.
butt up the edges. So on Annie's Soft and
Right.
Stable, when I piece it together, like to make a shape,
Yeah.
I
butt.
yeah, you just butt it up against itself. Okay, those two cut edges.
And that's what's really, when they call it, the edge joining foot.
Yes,
So it's that foot that just has that
center.
divider in it, that little, almost like a little wall, would you call it, that, you push one side up to one side and one side up to the other, and you go through and it keeps it together.
It's like a blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can guide
It's
it
not
in
cutting anything.
No.
But
and so you're gonna zigzag. So
Yes.
the needle falls in,
it
side
falls
one.
in one and then the other.
and then
It
the
falls in
other.
the left side, the right side, the
Okay.
left side, the right side.
So if you're gonna do that, and you're like edge joining foot, oh, I think I've got this foot that has something going up the middle. You can't use your blind hem
Doesn't
foot.
work.
Okay,
It's not a straight blade.
It's not. It extends into the extends into the sewing
Stitching
area. It's not
area,
just
right.
that it's not straight. It is in
Right.
your stitching area, so you can't zigzag
Right.
quite over it in the
Well,
same
you won't
way
be able to
can.
hold it together because it's got a little. The
Right.
blade is not straight.
Right.
It has a little
This is
bump out in it.
this is a mistake that I see like really famous sewing bloggers and brands make.
Oh, really?
They will say
Ugh.
this is the edge joining foot for top stitching, and they are showing a blind hem foot.
Yeah, it's not.
Now, your blind hem foot could be used for top stitching if you stayed over to one side or the other. Like if you didn't do a zigzag or something
Then
like
how
that.
would you get it to stay together? It has to fall in one
I'm
piece
talking about
and the
top
other.
stitching.
And
That's
top
what I'm
stitching.
saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
it could be used
Oh,
for
okay.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
you can use a blind hem foot to top stitch on either, like on
Yeah.
one side of it or another. But your edge joining foot is different.
Right.
There's an episode on that too. So what's another time when you have sewn on something that is not fabric, that was not what do I want to say? Like a woven product. So one thing I recently did, and we're going to go back to paper here, is I made a journal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for
Right.
someone. Okay, so I made myself pages and I sewed them onto like the cover of the book. And so since I wanted to put these like page groups together, I used a zipper foot. Okay, to stay out of the way. So if you are doing something like kind of weird, we're kind of leaving this a little open-ended because who knows what you're going to come up with that you have to sew on that's not fabric. You may come up against some bulk or something, odd. And so
Right.
that zipper foot can be really useful because I would sew down the center of these pages, but then when I got to the next group of pages,
Right.
I had the other group of pages, and so I had to keep like the foot out of the way of it. And this was a Sweeney Todd themed journal. That is what I had to make. And so if you are wanting to use a different specialty foot, like your edge joining
Right.
foot or your zipper foot, and it's dragging, there is a little hack. You can put Scotch tape or cellophane tape on the bottom of your foot and
Right.
trim it to fit the foot.
Right. And it gives it a smoother surface.
And that will, it's kind of like your fake Teflon there. So if you are encountering drag on your material, but you're using a foot that, you don't want to use the normal Teflon foot, you can do that.
Another thing that I've sewn, and I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it's plastic and it is dog food bags.
Oh, yeah.
And you can make
that's
grocery
great.
bags out. And what's so funny is they don't smell like dog food. Like you'd think they'd smell like dog food, but they don't wind up smelling like once the dog food's out of them, it's like, I don't know if it's not permeable enough.
Uh-huh.
And if if you think about it, they sew the ends of
they
it shut
changed it to
anyway.
shut. Yeah,
Right.
so everything gets, lots of things get sewn in
Right.
some way,
Right.
right? Yeah. So you are you made grocery bags out of the dog food bags. I
Right.
remember that. And then maybe the last thing that we'll list that's kind of funny that we didn't think about, but how about when you sewed on paper grocery bags, Mom, for Christmas?
Well, right, but that's paper again. But we took paper bags, we cut out a shape, and then sewed them up far enough so that we could still get the gift inside, shove the
Right.
gift inside, and then continue to. And the best part about that is people don't know how to open them. They don't know what to do. They're like, "Well, oh, it's so pretty. Oh, I don't know what." You just have to. No, I don't want to rip it open. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. It's fun to do stuff like that. And I've sewn a lot of little packages together like that.
Yeah.
Somebody's birthday party. I can't remember whose it was, but the loot bags is what we called them.
Right.
You fill a bag full of trinkets and candy or something and give it to the guests that came for the kids, and I would sew the top shut.
Right. Right.
And that way they didn't open it either till they left.
Yes. Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. Okay, so we would love to hear about your sewing on
Bizarre
odd
stuff.
things. Okay, paper, what have you. We would love to hear about that. So, but to recap, use a needle that doesn't make too big of a hole,
Right.
but that also will support your thread.
Mhm.
Okay, and don't make your stitches too short.
Right.
Unless you want to be perforating your
Right.
thing.
And again, you're going to have to test. It's
Right.
going to be different, and each machine might be a little different. Your feed dogs might not grab that exactly like you're used to it grabbing fabric.
Yes, exactly. And then, base your foot choice once again off of drag. It's not fabric, so your machine isn't, quite prepared for it. So either a Teflon foot or something else that lets you deal with whatever, crazy stuff you're trying to get into there, like foam or vinyl, or if you're going to do metal on your sewing machine.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, you can get a hold of us on Instagram. We are at SewHereCom. You can email me at Mallory@SewHere.com.
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit SewHere.com.